I would now like to welcome Mr. Herold Guiob, Chairman of the AIMS Board, in spending time with me getting some knowledge from him, getting some information from him. Welcome, Mr. Guiob.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Guiob, I'm sure you've been part of the planning and all the processes that have been happening with the establishment of AIMS. But I'd like to get your experience, your emotions. What do you feel currently about AIMS?
Well, thank you very much. I feel very excited. It's an opportunity where you'd say you have a front row seat to history. It's about literally being catapulted into witnessing history.
Yes.
And that makes me very excited. I know the institution from the beginning stages, and with every milestone we reach, that gives a certain sense of excitement and jubilation. And especially the milestone that we have reached today makes me so much happy, makes me so much excited, believing that there is a great future that we can all look forward to.
I was about to ask this question. What do you think the future looks like for ASOS?
Well, the future, at least from my chair as board, is to see to what extent we can really make an impact, with regard to socio-economic development. Because for me, ASOS cannot operate in silos, as an institution or as a program suspended in air. But it must really address the needs that are always on the ground.
Yes.
It must fundamentally about, first thing we ask ourselves as policy managers is this intervention that we start with. To what extent does it address our values? To what extent does it address our historical experiences? And to what extent does it address our development aspirations? If you look at it from that perspective, you're sure that you'll be able to go to where the needs are, especially. And that is what I see, ASOS doing, connecting with the needs on the ground in order to be able to unlock the talents that are there, shape the talents, and redeploy the talents back into the communities to transform the communities. That's at least my sense of ASOS.
Yes, definitely. Now, I'd like to ask you, if a prospective student were to listen to you or someone of influence that would maybe want to get involved, would you say that the program that ASOS is offering not only speaks to developing and professionalizing someone in sport, but that you are also developing the person as a whole, as a complete individual, and then sending them out into the world?
Absolutely, absolutely, I agree with you. It is about developing an individual from his emotional, spiritual, physical, intellectual, all those facets must be embedded in the kind of resource that we create. Because this resource, you must remember, comes from the communities. It comes from communities that have got particular challenges, socioeconomic challenges, because of the history of the country. And it is important that when we develop that resource, the resource must be able to be developed into a full sphere, so that when you redeploy that resource to the communities, it must be able to be relevant to the needs of the community out there. Yes, I agree. It must be a full package that we develop.
Most definitely. Mr. Guiob, I want to now get your opinion. What do you think we as ASOS need to do as an institution to reach others? What do you suggest we do so that we can really make an impact, not only in one specific's life, but also in the community and in the sports industry?
Well, it's a very important question, and I'm just looking at the type of people that we have assembled to manage this program, and I'm really happy, ever since, the program came to light, and the people behind, this program. I'm happy with, the people who are in the front, from the instructors, managers, everyone. what I can advise is you must look at the particular dynamics that this country has. This country has a particular history. Unlike any other socio-economic systems that you'll find over the world, here we are talking about the legacies of apartheid and what this apartheid came to define the society. And that also percolates to the sports. Then you can say certain sport codes are for certain language groups. And this is where I want you to penetrate. This is where I want ASOS, especially you in the leadership of this program, to deliberately go out to these codes that were reserved previously for certain language groups. Because you may well sit with a particular talent relevant for a particular sports code, but because of the socio-economic background, that person may not have an opportunity to display his talents there. So you must be the pathfinder. You must be an enabler that will facilitate these young people to go to codes that are previously, reserved for certain groups only. So you go that, even though it's happening at the schools, level, but for you also make it an opportunity that it becomes a household thing for a black person from Katutura to go and excel in hockey, in rugby, in cricket, that kind of a thing. That is what I want, so that it must, ASOS, because of the particular context in which ASOS was studied, it must not end there. It must just be the beginning. But our end goal should be to make it a national reach, so that these young people that you create must eventually be masters of the games at the national level, so that you must, at the end of the day, take that credit, if I may call it that way. It is ASOS that, make sure that you have desegregated, sports. Children, young people who were previously not privy to certain sports codes are now excelling in that, sports codes. But it should not only be one-way street for you coming from this community to that community. Reach out also to those communities so that they can also take a return journey to your community, and that there must be a cross germination of the ideas and talents that you find in the two communities.
Yes, you are definitely speaking to sport for all and all for Namibia.
Absolutely.
And I think that's an important factor that we sometimes miss in sport.
Absolutely.
On a last note, I'd like to ask you a general question. Looking at the current success that some of our sprinting athletes have had, and our para-athletes at the Paralympics also winning medals, what do you think the future of sport in Namibia looks like?
Well, there is bright future for sports. You have seen what happened, especially if I may take the example of athletics, the two athletes that excelled at the global level. But if we invest substantially in sports, and if what I heard, recently, make our institutions sports friendly, athlete, friendly, and there is commensurate investment in these sports, I think the future is really bright. And one of the fundamental, reasons for coming up with ASOS is for us to be able to identify raw talent that would otherwise have languished in the streets. But now you have that vehicle that can deliberately go out there and identify that talent, develop that talent, and redeploy, that talent. So on that score, I just see many more ASOS, coming up, many more people with interest and passion in sports to come up with similar institutions, similar programs. It does not necessarily need to be in the way that we have fashioned ASOS, but we must just look at the value chain and say, okay, here is ASOS. What else can I do to complement, that particular effort? That's the kind of a intervention that I look which will help to catapult the effort that we have started with to make it a lasting and a sustainable impact on our society.
Mr. Guiob, you are such a wise gentleman, and I can sit and listen to you endlessly. But I am so grateful for the time that you spent with me.
Yeah.
And once again, I'd like to congratulate you on the successful launch of this program.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Guiob.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.